I learned about the 80-20 rule, which is basically as long as it's 80% there, you know, getting it done is better than making it perfect, because the last 20% is basically diminishing returns anyway. Hello my fellows, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today is a very special day because as of this video going live, it'll be my 1-year anniversary here on YouTube. I can't believe it has been a year since I have started posting videos on YouTube. Time sure does fly by. And I've definitely learned a thing or two about being on this platform and throughout my journey here, and I thought I would share that with you guys. So I thought we would celebrate this momentous occasion with a Chatty Repot with me, where I'll be sharing with you my thoughts on being on YouTube and my journey so far. I'm always interested in these types of videos and love hearing about people's journeys, and hopefully you do too. While I'm talking, I'm also going to be repotting some of my plants in a new substrate called Magnificum that everyone is talking about here in Australia, and it's from Dr. Green Thumbs online. Dr. Green Thumbs. This is from Dr. Green Thumbs. This video is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, but I have heard really good things about this substrate and I'm curious to see what it'll do for my plants this growing season. From what I gathered, this is very similar to Lechuza Pon, if you're familiar with Pon, but that's not available here in Australia yet, as far as I know, and this is the closest to it. And some of these plants that you'll be seeing in this video aren't in the best shape. They are in dire need of repotting, which I've been holding off until spring to do, so it's springtime now here in Australia and it's time. Anyhow, so if you're interested to hear about my journey on YouTube and also to see what plants I'll be repotting in this video, then stick around. But before we get started, if you're new around here, my name is Grace and I post plant videos every week. So if you're interested in planty content like this, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you get notified when next week's video is out. Alright, so let's go ahead and put out the potting tarp. I'm going to start out with my Anthuriums, specifically this guy here, because this poor guy has been living in cling wrap for months and months. And because this isn't very stable, it did sustain an injury, which is very sad because I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this, but I purchased this Anthurium Magnificum hybrid months and months ago. Might have been maybe even 6 months ago, I don't really remember. But basically what happened was a lot of the leaves came infested with a certain pest, so I quarantined it and basically left it in cling wrap for the longest time. So all the leaves, all the old leaves have since gone, and this is the newest leaf that is put out. I was super excited about this one, but unfortunately it did fall and there was a rip in the leaf, sadly, but it's still gorgeous and I'm just gonna pretend that it's not there. So anyway, it's time to release this guy and pot him up, so I'm gonna be doing that. And while I'm doing this, let me talk a little bit about why I decided to start on YouTube. So I've always had a sort of affinity towards social media ever since Facebook came out, and even in Xanga days, I used to have a blog on Blogspot and things like that. So I've always been interested in sharing my views and my thoughts on things. So I guess YouTube is just another social media platform for me to do that. And I really like watching videos on YouTube and just learning from regular people like you and me on YouTube, because you know, there's so much that we can learn from each other. And also I thought about why I wanted to come onto this platform, and really because I'm really passionate about growing plants and caring for them and things like that. I thought that it'd be helpful to others if I shared what I've learned along the way. Actually, before plants, one of my passions was nail polish. And I even started a nail polish blog back in 2010 or 2011. I didn't make it very far. I posted maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so before I moved on. but I still think about it every now and then. And so when I felt the same passion for plants, I thought, why not start a YouTube channel and share that passion? Okay, before I go on to the next sort of thing, I'm just going to focus on getting the sphagnum moss off, because otherwise we're going to be here for a little while. Who else has a love-hate relationship with sphagnum moss? I mean, they're a great substrate to work with. My plants love rooting in them, but they're just an absolute pain to remove. This is what the roots look like. Super healthy and very established. So I'm actually going to be potting it up into here, hoping that it is large enough. Nope. The instructions say to transplant your plant into mat grow. Simply transplant into a container of choice, and that's it. So we don't have to rinse it out or anything beforehand like we do leca. And while I'm potting this up, let me talk a little bit about my journey here on YouTube. So I've been thinking about starting a YouTube channel for years now, but I never had the guts to do it. I've also watched so many videos on how to start a YouTube channel and all that kind of jazz, but it wasn't until I watched Kelly Stamp's video that I got the confidence or just had the urge to just do it. And I think a lot of us are in the same boat. I mean, when the pandemic hit and we're all staying at home, what better use of our time than to, film some YouTube videos? So yeah, I think a lot of us have Kelly Stamps to thank for that. But I have to confess, my very first video took a really long time to get done because I was really nervous about it, being my first video and all, that I wanted it to be perfect. So I actually filmed it 3 times, I've edited it like 3 times, and all that jazz. And it took me a really long time as well because I know nothing about editing, about filming. And on top of that, I'm actually an introvert and I prefer to listen rather than talk. So it took me a little while to get comfortable speaking in front of the camera. I didn't really know what to expect from my channel when I first started, and I didn't think that it would grow as much or as fast as it did. So, I'm really grateful for all of you guys giving me support and liking, commenting, interacting with my channel, subscribing, and all of that. Know that I really, truly appreciate you. This is actually quite heavy. I'm gonna top dress this in spag. And it says to give it a thorough water after repotting. So I'm gonna put this aside and give all of them a thorough watering after. Now I'm gonna repot this Anthurium hybrid. Don't really know what it is, but it's one of my favorites because it's doing so well. It's giving me so many leaves. But it's time I repotted it because it's still in this tiny little pot. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh my goodness. Look at the roots on this one. Yeah, it really needs a repot, but I'm really happy to see that it's so nice and healthy. Okay, so I think it will work if I repotted it in here. It's not too large. One of the things that they were marketing about this particular product is that there is literally 0 risk of root rot because it's so aerated that the roots aren't going to be suffocated or overwatered. So that's one of the main reasons why I decided to give this a go. So next, let's talk about the process. I had no idea how to go about starting a YouTube channel, what sort of equipment I needed, what the process would look like, and all of that. So I did a lot of research beforehand, as you would. And there are lots of great resources out there. So Think Media is one of the most informative channels you can find here on YouTube about how to get started on YouTube. And I also watched a lot of Catherine Manning's videos. She's been really transparent and helpful in terms of how to start on YouTube, how to grow, and finding your niche and all that kind of thing. So they've been really good resources for me. Nick Nimmin is another one who shares really good tips on growing on YouTube and starting on YouTube and things to look out for and all that kind of stuff. So those are the top 3 channels I would recommend if you are also thinking about starting on YouTube. So everybody's process is different, but one thing's for sure, it requires a lot of time, effort, and commitment. From coming up with the ideas to structuring what your key messages are, to preparing to filming, editing, and everything that comes afterwards. So, be prepared for that. I used to spend a lot of time editing my videos because, I'm starting from literally ground zero. I have no experience at all whatsoever. So it took me a little bit of time to get used to, but I think I've sort of developed an editing style of my own and also a process of my own, which really helped to cut down the time required. And no doubt my editing style will change and evolve as I progress along as well. Really nice and healthy roots. Okay, so let's pot this up before we move on to the next thing. Sorry, my camera cut out there. I was saying that I do like to reuse my sphagnum moss because there is a shortage in supplies. There we are. That's that one done. Ta-da! Moving on to the next one. Next, I'm going to repot this very sad looking Anthurium. This is an Anthurium Augustus, but I think it is suffering from root rot because it's really looks like it's not doing well at all. So let's just see what it's doing in here. Yeah. Oh no, it doesn't look good. So this is what the roots are looking like. As you can see, there are some healthy roots like these ones here that are thick and white, but there's also evidence of root rot, as you can see from this one here. That is kind of mushy looking, and this really thin white root down here is what's left over when the healthy parts of it rot off. So yeah, definitely one that I have managed to rescue in time. Look at this. This is what happens. Are you seeing this? So the outside of it's just basically rotted off, and we're left with this really thin white root inside, which is not what you want. So let's pot this up, shall we? Now that's another one, pot it up. Next I'm going to be separating these 2 plants. This is a Anthurium, another hybrid. I don't really know what this is. Now let's talk equipment. Most people say that when you're starting out, you don't really need anything fancy. You can just film on your phone, iPhone or whatever, and that's good enough. And while that is good and true, my phone doesn't have enough storage space for me to film on it because I take a gazillion photos. So I thankfully have an old camera which is about 5 or 6 years old. It is the Samsung NX500 or something like that. Anyway, so that's the camera that I'm filming on. As you guys will know if you follow my channel from the beginning, at some point it did suffer a fall onto the lens, and so yeah, ever since then it's been acting up. I was actually thinking to commemorate 1 year here on YouTube, I would maybe get a better camera because it's about time I upgraded the equipment. Another thing about this particular camera is that it doesn't have a microphone jack, and also it films in a format that my MacBook can't read. That's a really nice segue into the next thing that I'm going to be talking about, which is editing software. So I do use a MacBook Pro, and it comes with a free editing software. So I use iMovie to edit all my videos, nothing fancy. iMovie can't read the audio on the format that my camera records in. So I actually need to do an extra step, which is to convert the clips into a different format that is readable on iMovie, and that's an additional step which takes time. So when I first started out, it was incredibly frustrating, but I did get the hang of it, and I'm kind of used to it now. However, it would be nice to get rid of that step in the process. Back to the camera though, I'm actually saving the revenue that I'm earning from YouTube AdSense so that I can purchase a new camera and up my game here on YouTube. So thank you guys in advance for all your support, for watching my videos, for watching the ads and things like that. If I do get a new camera, it'll be because of you. Okay, so I managed to wrangle that one free. So that's the first plant. Oh, it has a new leaf. This one I am going to repot in here. That fits nicely, so let's do that. So that one's done, ready to go. There we go, that's the next one. I'm really enjoying this substrate so far. It's really easy to manipulate and the plants feel very sturdy in them, like it doesn't roll around as opposed to leca or the other rocky mix that I used to use. It's really nice and sturdy. Alright, so those were the Anthuriums. Now I'm going to move on to my Philodendrons that really need to be repotted. Starting off with this Philodendron Rugosum. So now let's talk a little bit about the growth that I've seen on my YouTube channel. So about my third video in, I filmed a terrarium build, my jewel orchids, and that sort of took off. I mean, when I say take off, it hasn't gone viral or anything like that, but it started getting traction and getting a little bit more traffic to my channel. The next video to do well was my string of turtle care tips video. That one also got picked up by the algorithm and got a little bit more traffic to my channel. And the next one after that would be my Hoya collection video. I believe it was because of these videos working in tandem that I was able to hit 1,000 subscribers about 6 months in, and was able to get monetized shortly after. And funny enough, after months of crickets on this video that I thought was a really solid video, it did start to take off. So that would be my string of pearls care tips video. Now it is maybe one of my top performing videos. So if there's one thing that I learned is that if the video doesn't immediately do well, that doesn't mean that it never will. And that's a really good thing to remember throughout this journey, because it can get a little bit deflating after a while if you're putting out video after video and it's not getting any views. Okay, I'm gonna have to rinse this off and I will be right back. That's it for this one here. That's the Rugosum. Okay, so now I'm going to repot this guy. This is my Philodendron Splendid that I got as a one leaf cutting. That leaf's already fallen off, and these are 3 new leaves from my care. Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. So what have I learned from being on YouTube for 1 year? It really boils down to 3 things. Firstly, consistency is key. You know, everyone talks about it. You have to be consistent on YouTube and all that jazz, and it's really true. But for me, it's more about having a consistent output. And from the outset, my goal was to put out 1 video a week, and I think I've largely stuck to that, barring 1 or 2 videos. So I'm really proud of that. And I've also got Alex to thank for stepping in for those videos where I'm unable to film. So round of applause for Alex. I think I'm actually going to chop and crop this one because it has a number of aerial roots poking out. Not sure if you can see that, but that tells me that it's time to multiply this plant. Okay, so I've got my scissors here. I'm gonna make the cut. That's 1. Alright, that looks good to me. There we have it. Now I've got 2 separate plants. I'm gonna go water this really quickly so that this propagation survives. Alright, now let's put up this guy right here. This is a Philodendron Plowmanii round form. This is another one that I picked up because this was priced at a bargain, and it has more distinct silver coloration to it, so couldn't resist. Now, I did purchase this as a rooted cutting, but the roots weren't very established. So I'm curious to see what it has done. It's looking good. Looks like it has acclimatized pretty nicely, and the root system is quite established now. It didn't do anything for a very long time. I mean, it hasn't even put out a growth point or anything like that. I think it's just focusing on its roots. So, actually I spoke too soon. There is a growth point poking out of here. So I'm really glad that we did this. Yeah, there's a growth point, as you can see. Yay! Right, so that one's done. Ta-da! It's really windy today. Actually, I'm gonna pop this one up. This is my Philodendron Lupinum. This is the original leaf, I think, that it came with. That's on its way out, and it's fine. It's given me all of these, which I am going to propagate as well. So let's go ahead and do that. But I'll move on to the second lesson that I've learned, which is overcoming perfectionism. I am a recovering perfectionist. As I mentioned about my very first video, I did try to get it perfect, but perfection, or what's perfect, is really subjective. And I learned about the 80-20 rule, which is basically as long as it's 80% there, you know, getting it done is better than making it perfect, because the last 20% is basically diminishing returns anyway. In fact, I am also learning to embrace imperfections. I tend to edit out any stumbles or pauses or ums and ahs in my speech, and that's something that I'm learning to sort of leave in there, because it's a little bit more natural and also more authentic. I mean, I'm still learning to tread that balance. There we go. Super easy, and I don't even have to go to the sink to rinse that off. That's great. Okay, so I'm gonna chop this right here. And now I have 2 lupinums. Anyway, so that one's done, and I'm just gonna finish off with the third thing that I've learned, which is basically to stop comparing with others. I mean, you hear about YouTubers only being on the platform for about a month and gaining over 100,000 subscribers, or, you know, those that only put out a video and one video gained them 1 million subscribers somehow. Of course, they're the sort of exception to the rule, and they are outliers, but everybody grows at their own pace, and that's okay. I've got a couple more plants to go, but I don't want this video to go for too long. It is long enough as it is, so I'm just going to talk through the last couple of points in terms of what's next for my channel. Guys, today it is really windy, so I do apologize if you can hear some wind sounds coming in, but I thought I would just wrap this up really quickly. So, as I mentioned before, I talked about what's next on my channel. I'll continue to put out plenty content. And if you have any requests or anything like that, do let me know in the comments below. I'd really like to hear about what you guys would want to see on my channel. And also, I may potentially mix up the content a little bit more to incorporate other passions or interests of mine. For example, maybe a little bit of nail polish there, or like book reviews or Netflix show reviews, things like that. So if that's something that you are interested in, let me know in the comments below, or actually I might put out a poll on my community tab, so vote over there to let me know your thoughts. And yeah, so that's it for today's video, guys. It is something a little bit different, but I do hope that you enjoy anyway. If you want to see more planty content, feel free to check out these videos right here. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, stay mellow, my fellows.